I have Thomas Rechtenwald's Rainbow E2, I guess he calls it a Platinum. And I'm going to do a lot of tests with it. Also, a whole house cleaning, amongst anything else I can possibly think of. But when I do my tests, I'm going to go and see what kind of airflow and suction this thing has all the way along from the base canister end to the power nozzle. Now I've taken out this final filter here, which came from there. And I've cleaned the separator because this was definitely filthy. I used the, let's see where they put the brush. It's hiding in here somewhere. Where are you? Oh, it's over here. Want to hide something, put it right in front of your face. So that's been completely cleaned. So that looks like it's in pretty good shape. This, however, was an absolute mess. Of course, that's what you see from the outside. This is what you see from the inside. Let's see if I can get you in there. Look at that. Now, that is after I blew it out. And when I went to go blow it out, all kinds of dust shot out in every direction like a cannon out of this thing. So I spent probably 10 minutes doing everything I could to blow it out. So I am going to run it under water like it says here, and then let it dry. I'll follow the directions to a T on that. And I want to see if this filter, even though it's been blown out and it's moderately clean from a dry standpoint, I wonder if actually washing this is going to make that much of a difference from an airflow and a suction standpoint. Seeing the ratings plate's always kind of tough, so bear with me here. See, Rainbow, model E2 type 12, there's all the ratings. Rexair, patent pending, Troy, Michigan, USA, rated 120 volts, 50-60 hertz at 12 amps. That's without the power nozzle. With the motorized nozzle, 12.5 amps. And here's the ratings plate on the power nozzle. So on and so forth. Double insulated. Oh, fantastic. All right, so it says PN12, Troy, Michigan. Now this is interesting. 120 volts, 1.8 amps. All right, so unfortunately, this contradicts what that ratings plate says. That one says the power nozzle only adds another half an amp, which would be 60 watts. This is over 200 watts. So we'll have to do some real-world measurements to see what's actually true. All right, what we have here is the main suction unit of a Rainbow E2 2-speed type 12, not mine. And the HEPA filter is probably slight to maybe even moderately dirty in it. And I've blown that out, but I haven't washed it yet. So this is going to be the slightly dirty exhaust HEPA filter results. And then, of course, we'll wash it and see if it makes any appreciable difference, because this is something that I'm sure a few people want to see. Incidentally, this nifty little adapter is like 99 cents in a hardware store. Fits perfectly in here and allows me to measure the airflow pretty accurately. So high speed first. good as we're going to get. 3720. All right, with a slightly dirty filter, again, not washed, about 97.1 CFM. All right, let's go ahead and repeat this, and let's try it on low. See what that does. People use this for cleaning their room air. Obviously very quiet. That's probably about as good as we're going to get. So 551. On low, we're looking at about 14.4 CFM. All right, that'll come in handy when I put this in my test room upstairs on the second floor and we do some particle counter tests. Now, you know, one thing I want to go ahead and test is suction, but I also want to take a look at the current this thing draws. So right now, with about 122 volts, now I'm on low, I'm running about 390 milliamps. So if you multiply 0.39 times 122, probably 122.5, you'll get the power this thing's actually using on low, just sitting here doing nothing. Now let's crank it up to high. And on high, I'm looking at 11.5 amps on high. And the load on my dedicated 20 amp circuit, let's see, let me get up the voltage here. There we go. So 122.0 volts, but this is a dedicated 20 amp line that goes up here. So there you go, about 11.5 amps. So we're pretty close. This machine is rated at 12 amps. It's doing about 11.5. All right, time for a suction test. All right, bet you this looks weird, looking at suction upside down. Maybe I'll leave it upside down. Maybe I'll use the magic of Editing Suite to flip it over. But for the heck of it, let's test the suction in low speed. We got, I want to call it 2. No, wait a minute. Yep, I'm going to call it 2. All right, so 2 inches of lift. Okay, so it's going to get loud. Let's see what this thing can do in high. And I've cleaned all the seals. 8. All right, that made a difference. In a previous run, I hit 86, and this one, I'm going to call 88. All right, fantastic. Now I'm at the end of the hose, so let's take some suction and airflow tests here at the end of the hose. Right unit. Cool, that's better. All right, so we're at 3012. So we're at about 79 CFM. Alright. Let's see what kind of suction we can get. Alright. I got 83, so I hope you could actually see that. Okay, something that I definitely noticed that I'm going to have to take care of before I put this on the airflow box. You got these little notches, these little cutouts, both in the rear of the nozzle and also in the front. Now, sealing off the front with masking tape is going to be pretty easy, and sealing off the sides isn't going to be too bad. But I'm probably going to have to use some kind of a microfiber or whatnot and put it across this line back here, this broken ridge, in order to try to get the best airflow measurements possible. But realize that specifically this nozzle is intended to have airflow relief, quite a bunch of them, quite a bit, both rear and in the front, probably to go and get small particulate in there. All right, this is the kind of piece de resistance. This is the measurement that I've definitely been waiting for. I have seen one other person on YouTube, well, I don't think he's posted this on YouTube, but more or less on Vacuum Land, go and get about, it was like 54, maybe 55 nozzle CFM. So I want to see if I can actually beat that, maybe with a better seal. But man, did I have to go and create like a giant wall of tape to try to seal this thing. And you got to realize that when you're actually using it on your carpet, you're not going to have that. And yes, I took the little side brushes off. So here's the setup. Fantastic. Here we go. Stretched out nice and straight. Wand about at a 45-degree angle. And let's see what it can do. Now with the D4C, we had a lot of loss through the nozzle, and I'm hoping this one, because I've taken it apart and looked at it, doesn't have nearly the same kind of loss. Okay, there we go. Okay, power nozzle off. There is water in the bowl. Alright, so with the main suction unit that has somewhat dirty filters, has not been washed, we are at, alright, well, close enough, 59.4 CFM. And let me make sure. I'm at 122.4 volts, so I'm a little bit higher than normal. It just seems like the power company gives us a little extra juice at night when we need it for our air conditioner, so I'm running about 1 volt higher than normal. Almost 60, so not too bad. Now I'm going to turn the power nozzle on and see if it changes anything, and I'll also take a current reading as well. Am I on 1 min? Gotta be on max. Yeah, max. Alright. 2244. It'd be nice if I could do that right. 58.0. So it went down a little bit. Huh, how about that? And I'm guessing it's because of the power draw of this. This is supposed to be 1.8 amps. That's going to actually make the machine have a little bit less power to drive the main suction unit. So let me verify that real quick. All right, I'm at 11.46 amps. Let me turn this on. And I come up to 12.15 amps with the power nozzle on. Now let me take a look at the voltage drop. You know what? I wonder, can you see this? Alright, so we're at 122.3. Now I'm going to turn the power nozzle on. I bet you see it drop. There, so under load it dropped. It wasn't much, tiny fraction of a volt, but we got a tiny fraction of a CFM drop with the power nozzle on. So how interesting. One thing I definitely wanted to do now, since I have more time to spend with this E2 2-speed Platinum, is I want to go and measure the exhaust filtration capability. Now I will eventually go and do a whole room filtration test a couple different ways, and that'll give a more holistic view of what the entire machine does. But I wanted to go and check out this rear exhaust filtration. So I looked up on the interwebs, and I found out that this particular genuine filter is supposed to filter to H13 standards, and you can actually Google H13 and see how high a grade that is. Now the filter I'm going to test with right here is not the filter that this one originally came with. That's this really dirty guy over here. Now I blew this out and then I washed it, but you can see the part that faces the fan on the inside still looks terrible. I don't know what it's going to end up testing like. It's going to take a few days for it to dry. This is what you normally see facing the you say the consumer side, the outside here. That looks pretty decent, but what's in here looks pretty terrible, and I got an awful lot of dirt out there. But I washed it like crazy, and before I did that, obviously I blew out all the dust and dirt that I possibly could, and it shot out several feet. So this one, I don't know how well it's going to survive, but we'll test it too. This one that's currently in here is from a 2005 E2 2-speed Gold. It's in much better shape, and I did blow out the small amount of dust that was in there before I installed it into this newer one. So let's see how well it does. And of course, a brand new filter, I would expect maybe to even do better. So let's get a baseline particle count. I can show you what my basement's currently running. How clean is the vac lab? Here we come up to the first average measurement, and we're at 6,000 something. Okay, that's pretty typical. And got another measurement, 5,000 something. All right, so we're in the few thousand something or other range. Seems to be dropping a little bit. I'm going to say around 5,000 something or other. Okay, so that's pretty typical for my basement when the HVAC runs. I have MERV 7 filtration in the basement. So let's go ahead and run this. And so much airflow that comes out here, it actually blows the meter back, so I'm going to have to brace this against my camera tripod stand to keep the meter from actually blowing away from the rear of the machine. All right, hopefully it'll stay there. We won't get any surprises. So it's going to get loud, really loud. Alright, now that your ears are blown out, if you're using headphones or your speakers just exploded across the room, you can see that this filter here, which has to be a number of years old, I don't really have a date on it per se, but yeah, we're talking a 0. So this thing's actually blowing clean, provided it's not abused, and the other side of this that faces the fan, the interior of the machine, wasn't looking that bad. This one looks really terrible that came in the machine originally, but I don't know how well this is going to clean up. We may have it clean up really well, just like the Dyson DC65 ball that I happened to go and test probably a number of months ago. Even though it looked really terrible and it was stained, it still blew some really good numbers, but we'll find out when this thing dries.